Welcome to System Dynamics Online Tutorials. In this particular session, we're going to cover the continuous replenishment planning process within the purchasing module. Under the distribution within purchase order, we have the purchase order menu, which part of the processing has continuous replenishment planning. This is a sub-module to the purchase order module in the sense that continuous replenishment planning is a complete process that enables the actual vendor of the given products to maintain the stock levels at your site. Basically what happens is that in a sequence of steps, by virtue of sending the vendor the activity that's occurring on the given product, he then analyzes that activity, and based on his decision, he actually sends out and cuts suggested purchase orders or acknowledgments to those to that activity, and sends them back to you electronically. In which case, you then approve them, turn them into actual purchase orders on your system, and in actuality, the vendor has already sent the given product, and you're just simply waiting to receive it. So it's cutting the portion of analyzing your system and doing a purchase order to the vendor. You're just simply on a regular basis, something mutually agreed upon to the vendor, giving him product activity, and then he's managing the supply of the product based on that activity on a regular basis directly to your shipping docks. The system starts out with product activity generation, and all that does is produce a standard, what they call EDI 852 transaction. This can be done for a beginning range of vendors, a beginning and ending range of warehouse, even for a particular product class, and of course by product. So I simply produce the product activity for the given vendor, and this will actually execute simply by running the system, and it will produce in my standard EDI file as defined on my global master file, where that file is globally on my network, a file name here, the CR with 01200, which is the actual application 00100, and it gives the date timestamp to that file. This is the product activity which would be picked up by the vendor. This is a standard 852 transaction file, and if I wish to save it somewhere else, I simply can use the standard Windows interface and place it anywhere on my network. Simply save the file, and the application will produce the standard batch online and run, and we will get an update in progress and complete, and the system will return to the menu. The next step is basically from an interface perspective, the vendor would pick that particular file up, and based on the information in it, actually start shipping the goods to your shipping docks. At that point in time, he would send back to you what we call a purchase order acknowledgement load, which would be picked up by the network system, and I can browse to actually pick that up. Again, it will default to my standard EDI directory defined on the global file, or I can actually go and place it anywhere on the system. And in the EDI world, this is called a standard X12 855 transaction file, and I simply put that in here and execute the load file, which then loads it into my system and prepares it for the possibility of becoming a purchase order on my system. This purchase order, once it's loaded, can then have an acknowledgement listing, so I can get a hard copy based on the vendor's information of what he sent me. This will display what he is going to send me in that file, so I can get a hard copy listing on it. And then the actual vendor acknowledgement approval allows me to online view, this is the same online version of that hard file copy, by vendor all of the products that he's going to be sending me. If I approve of them, I simply can flag the approval flag here, and all of the products will be approved for the quantities that he's going to send me, and I actually will turn this given acknowledgement number into an actual purchase order on my system in waiting for purchase order receipts coming from the vendor. And this vendor acknowledgement update is taking any records that have been approved in here and simply updating them to the actual purchase order module, and I simply execute and run the update button here, and the system will display to me the purchase orders that are being created in my purchasing module. It's important to note here that this particular approval stage on this vendor acknowledgement approval, I can approve or change the quantities. It would be a manual intervention that I would actually have to get in contact with the vendor, because as far as he's concerned, he is actually sending me these particular quantities. In a true CRP application, this acknowledgement listing and vendor approval would not be done. It would simply be loaded and then updated, possibly within the same process, but definitely loaded and any errors taken care of, and then actually updated into the purchasing module. This purchase order acknowledgement listing and the vendor acknowledgement approval is an in-between stage to allow me to view and actually see in the tuning stages of setting up CRP with a particular vendor. So it's a subset of the purchase order module, and it's all driven on EDI standard X12 855, 852 transactions into the purchase order system.